So last year released a game on Steam that single-handedly revitalized my interest in speedrunning. And that game is, well, Vividlope, the game you're looking at right now. This game, as of the video going up, is actually coming to Switch tomorrow. And thanks to the developer giving me early access, I was able to take a look at the Switch version and compare it to the PC version that I've been running for the last year, and take a look at some of the difference and compare it to see how it would mostly affect the speedrun, but also how, in general, the game plays on Nintendo Switch. So given my early access, I wanted to make a video just before the release of the Switch version going up, and that way I can talk about the stuff that's going into the game, the things that are changing, what's new, and sort of all that stuff. So let's just get right into it. Beginning of the game, you actually now have the option to choose the characters, whereas the current PC release, to unlock the second character, Acrew, you actually have to complete the game the first time with the main character, Cerise. Brand new to the Switch version, for the time being, is the new character, Miss Noir. Now, throughout the playthrough of Cerise and Acrew's main story, she is portrayed as the antagonist, and with this new version, you actually get to play as her, and this version will come to the PC at a later point. But for now, this is a timed exclusive to the Switch version, but she does have her own story. I saw people talking about it in the Vividlope Discord server, but she does in fact have her own story. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything or talk about what it entails. All you need to know is that she does have her own story that is completely separate from Cerise and Acrew, as well as having unique interactions with the NPCs that fill the world. Now let's actually talk about what Vividlope is. In case you are watching this and didn't play it on Steam, Vividlope is a puzzle action game where the whole point of the playthrough is that you go in to enter levels, and when you enter a level, it proceeds to provide you with a percentage of the level that needs to be filled in with a different color, as well as a goal for what color you need to change the tiles. And your goal throughout the whole level is to walk over tiles to flip their colors, avoid enemies, use items to fill in said tiles, and try to reach the percentage while trying to keep it as much of a single chain as possible. Once you reach the required percentage, the game then challenges you to fill in the rest of the level before your power meter on the left-hand side reaches empty. As you go through the game, the levels become more and more complex, introducing new mechanics, new items, and the ability to accidentally undo the tiles you've already walked over, as well as things like invisible tiles and more. The game came out originally on PC. I was immediately hooked on it and started playing it constantly, and it ended up being a game that brought me back into speedrunning. My main YouTube channel is where I've been creating Splatoon content for years, but as I fell out of it and got a little bored of it, I ended up just going back into speedrunning, and Vividlope was the game that revitalized my interest in speedrunning as a whole. So say you're like me and you played the PC version a bunch. Well, what does the Switch version have? Quite a few levels have their layouts changed a tad bit to make things a little bit easier. Some levels have been completely rearranged. Some levels are completely brand new. Some levels from worlds got changed, so a world that might have one level it now is in a later level, or in some cases there's actually later levels that got moved to an early world. Things like that get shuffled quite a bit, and there even is an extra bonus in this Switch release, but I'm not going to spoil what it is or what it takes to get it, but there is brand new content being added to the Switch version outside of level changes and the new character. So now let's talk about the characters. The main character, Cerise, she's just sort of an all-rounder. She doesn't really have any downsides to playing her. She's the basic character who goes at a moderate speed and has the ability to tank one hit if her power gauge allows her to. Second character, Acrew, he's a bit faster than Cerise when he gets at max speed. However, one disadvantage he has is if he's walking over tiles he's already colored in, then he moves significantly slower than her. And then of course we have the new character, Miss Noir. Now her ability in this is that she generally moves about the same pace as Cerise. However, now she has the ability to use items at the risk of her own power bar. So depending on what buttons you input on the controller, she has the ability to use the items such as paint balloon, dash, rat paper, and impact, all just by pressing some buttons and losing some of your power gauge, which for in the speedrun, which is what most of my testing has been, she is by far the best character for the speedrun, just because of her abilities speed up so many of the early world levels before we're even able to use items like the rat paper. Her ability to just use it at the risk of some of her power gauge makes the early worlds that much faster and has single-handedly cemented the fact that she will be the best character for speedruns. Now, of course, like I mentioned earlier, I don't want to spoil too much. There are some actual new things that have been added to this There's also been a couple more achievements that have been added that are tied to Miss Noir and the extra content that's been included in this release. But as of right now, I'm not going to spoil any of it. If you're interested in checking it out, probably pretty shortly I will have some speedruns of it out, so you can watch some of that and see the gameplay of it. But as of right now, I'm not going to dive too much into it. The update that's being pushed to the Switch is going to be a timed exclusive, as I mentioned earlier. The developer has mentioned that it will come to the Steam release at some point in the future, but as of right now it is exclusive to the Switch, which for the speedrun means that the loads are going to be a little bit slower, so RTA timing is going to be a little bit off, but as a community we use in-game time, so it might not make too big of a deal, but it just means that probably for a bit speedruns will be done on the Switch version as opposed to the Steam version, just because of how much better Miss Noir is for the speedrun in general. But when it comes to the game in general, I've expressed my opinion on it over on Steam, and that this game was by far my indie game of the year last year. I had enjoyed this game so much, and it was so interesting and fun to play. Like I said in the video, it has revitalized my interest in speedrunning, and now is the game that I've run the most on speedrun.com, with the most amount of runs submitted for it. It has been a blast to play. I really appreciate the developer, Jacob, for giving me access to the Switch version early. It's been fun to play it the last week and mess around with things and discover the new stuff, see the things that are still the same, and just sort of mess around to see if certain glitches or skips have been fixed. But with that said, I definitely think the game is worth it. It's going to be released at $10, and it is absolutely a steal. With all that said, I do recommend people check it out. I will leave a link to both the eShop page as well as the Steam page for if you want to check it out on PC, where it performs a little bit better, or if you want to check it out on Switch to check out the new content before it comes to Steam. But with all that said, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.